If you saw a ferocious bear standing in the middle of the road and you had places to go, what would you do? One brave police officer faced this dilemma. However, he was soon forced to act quickly. State Trooper Thomas Owens needed to make sure that all the drivers who were stuck in traffic were safe from the claws of a fierce bear in the middle of the road. Eventually, though, he realized why the beast wouldn't move. But before we start, make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. One day, an anonymous source reported to the police force that a bear was spotted on a road close to Breton Woods ski resort. In collaboration with Carroll Police, Thomas drove down to the reported location. One thing's for sure, this isn't the first time that a bear has caused problems here. Breton Woods is a majestic part of the world. Spanning over 700 acres of land, this is a beautiful area that not only attracts skiers, but is home to a wide variety of wildlife. With over 200 species of bird living in this region, as well as many sightings of bears, it should come as no surprise that these woods are well protected. Surely enough, Thomas was about to see something the likes of which he has never seen before. As he drove towards the location where the bear reportedly stood, Thomas couldn't believe how many cars were waiting in traffic. By the time he arrived at the scene, the entire space had been blocked off. Even when he was many yards away from the bear, he could see that she posed a potential threat. Obviously, police treat any case where there is a bear involved very seriously. There is no denying that bears can be extremely dangerous if one gets too close to them. The police put up large steel sheets in order to ensure a safe blockade between the drivers and the bear. While the drivers were now fairly safe and began to go the other way, Thomas was still there, waiting to confront the bear. As Thomas tried to get closer to the bear, he noticed something strange about her. For some reason, she was pacing back and forth from one side of the road to the other. Why not just move off the road? Soon enough, though, Thomas understood why the bear was behaving so strangely. It was at this stage that Thomas finally understood the reason behind the bear's irrational behavior. She had not one, not two, but 3 cubs. They were all following her as she went from one side of the road to the other and back again. While it's surprisingly rare for a mother bear to have 3 cubs at once, Thomas was amazed to see that a 4th one was also at the scene. However, the little one wasn't moving, which immediately explained why the mother and her other cubs were pacing back and forth. After a few minutes of pacing and nudging, the mother ultimately decided to move on with her other cubs and return to the woods. Naturally, Thomas was upset with what happened. However, from where he could see, the cubs still looked very much alive. Now that the coast was clear, Thomas knew that he needed to act quickly. He rushed over to the abandoned cub to check his condition. It was clear to Thomas that the cub was sick and needed immediate medical attention. So he picked the poor little thing in his arms and rushed him back to his car. They decided to transport him to a rehab center in Lyme, New Hampshire instead. As soon as he arrived at the center, a team of vets and nurses took the bear cub off his hands and attended to him. It was clear that the cub's chances of survival were hanging on a thread. As Thomas's story became the talk of the town, officials eventually broke the news to him that the mother bear, who he had encountered earlier that day, actually had 5 cubs with her at the beginning. This meant that on the same day, she had lost not 1, but 2 of her litter. Whether she lost the other one or abandoned it was unclear. At any rate, Thomas knew exactly what he needed to do next. Determined to bring this broken family back together, Thomas organized a meeting with a team of state troopers and planned a search. While the 4th cub was still in medical care, Thomas wouldn't rest until he found the 5th one. Amazingly, when everything was said and done, Thomas and the Carroll police managed to locate the 5th cub's whereabouts. It would come to pass that the cub was actually located close to where his mother had been pacing back and forth just a couple of days beforehand. Needless to say, Thomas was absolutely delighted to find the little one. Thankfully, after a couple of days of intensive care, both the 4th and 5th bear cub made a full recovery, and the nurses were able to bottle feed them in peace. However, both Thomas and the vets knew that they couldn't hang on to the cubs forever. Yet Thomas knew that he needed to do one more thing for the adorable cubs. Now that the cubs are healthy and happy, Thomas and the rehab center are determined to reunite them with the mother, helping to make this family complete once again. However, they will need to remain at the center in order to reach full strength. Only then will the center release the 2 bears back into the wild, While the reunion hasn't happened just yet, Thomas was in store for some good news in light of his heroic adventure. Not only did the New Hampshire State Police praise Thomas for his vigilance in caring for the bear cub, but many people on social media also had great things to say about Thomas, who had gone above and beyond to make sure that nobody, no matter how big, small, or furry, would be left behind. One thing is for sure, the bears of Carroll, New Hampshire can count on Thomas to keep a watchful, loving eye over them.